Welcome to TRIVI-yeah. I am your host, Dean Felix. This is the podcast where you can learn something new, feel good about the things you already know, and you can have my finger gun when you pry it from my cold, dead hand. Pew pew! First things first, the answer to last episode's bonus question is Demeter. What was that question? Well, to find out, all you gotta do is go back and listen to the previous episode. Bonus questions are near the back. If you have decided to join me for another episode of TRIVI-yeah, well, welcome back. It's so good to have you. Maybe you're wondering, hey, what happened last week? Why wasn't there an episode? Well, I'm gonna get to that in the show. I've got some splaining to do, and splain I shall. If this is your first episode of TRIVI-yeah, well, welcome. Thank you so much for hitting play. I will do my best not to disappoint. Let me quickly explain what you're about to hear. 10 multiple choice questions as we travel down that rabbit hole of trivia knowledge. Now, what does that mean? Well, it simply means that here on TRIVI-yeah, each question leads into the question that follows. It has no bearing on how you play the game. I just thought maybe you'd like to know. None of these questions are pulled from any old trivia board games, nor were they created by AI. Oh no, I wrote and researched them all myself, all by my lonesome. Very, very lonely here, just me and my trivia questions. But now you're here, and it's like a party. It's like a party. Yeah, I've been to parties. I know what parties are like. They're like this. Hey, if you like the show, then please like the show if that's an option. Follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, leave a positive comment, make a post on socials, do all of those wonderful things that help this podcast continue to grow, and you will have my eternal thanks. This is my eternal thanking voice. And this is my short-lasting you're welcome voice.
And this is my normal voice.
But this is my podcast voice. Why don't I speak like this all the time? Well, because it really hurts. But I will take the pain for you. I love my listeners. I love them. Hey, I got you something. No, it's not much. Just a little trivia podcast. You want to hear it? All right. Okay. I guess it's time to play a little TRIVI-yeah. Right after this. Welcome back to TRIVI-yeah. I am Dean Felix. Well, it has been a rough week of news here in America. This is currently the last week of January 2026, in case you are listening to this from the future. The news was very bad 2 weeks ago, and perhaps unsurprisingly, it has gotten worse. Now, I try not to be too overtly political on this, but hey, if you've listened before, you certainly know where I stand. There's just been so much misinformation being put out there on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. They know what they are doing. Now, I believe in freedom of speech. I'm not trying to suggest that we take anyone's rights away, like, some people are doing. But let me say that somebody who blatantly lies, just in an attempt to control the narrative, should at the very least have their microphone taken away. And to accept such obvious lies? I mean, come on, you are better than that, I hope, right? Look, what's so bad about just admitting you were wrong? It's not as earth-shattering as it seems, right? I've done it before. Feels pretty good, actually. Come on, consider it. Be best. Okay, let's move on. If you're a regular listener, then you know that one of my personal goals is to voice a cartoon character. Probably the most attainable of my goals, and my pursuit of it is why there was no new episode last week. I was busy creating voiceover demos and trying to get representation. So I put together a commercial demo that's me doing like spokesperson stuff. Some of the clips I have for it were actual professional work that I've done in the past. And then after that, I made an animation demo with a bunch of clips of me doing a number of different voices and characters. Now, I'm no man of 1,000 voices, right? So I was a little unsure about how the animation demo would turn out, but I think it ended up being pretty good. It turns out that I might be a man of 12 voices, at least. So yeah, could be worse. And now that the demos are made, I've been sending off emails to agents and managers just all over the place. A quick look at my spreadsheet here shows that I have emailed 56 submissions so far, and I have received 1 response. They said no. Big mistake by them, obviously, but hey, at least they responded. It's still early. I'm trying to stay positive, but I know this is an uphill battle, right? The voiceover industry is and just has been inundated with talent, and the timing could not be worse because AI slop is taking a huge amount of the work away. But I know I can do this. I think. Oh, well, at least I know I can do the spokesperson voiceovers because I've done them before. And look, I have hired plenty of voice talent in my career. And there are just so many people out there with incredible sounding voices, that deep, good, bassy voice that we all know and love. However, a huge percentage of these guys only have that amazing voice. Little else. Like, what I mean to say is that a lot of these guys can only read a line one specific way. And that's it. If you ask them to give you an alternate read, they just immediately panic. And that's never good for any recording session. My hope is that I can maybe break through by, simply having a good voice and being a lot more dynamic. I hope, because, look, I'm never going to have one of those announcer voices, right? Good, okay? Because enough with all these announcers. Stop announcing things to me, okay? Hey, if you're going to announce something, at least have the decency to lead off with a drum roll. Oh, it sounds like we're about to get an announcement right now. Or not. It's time for question one. Time for question one. It's time for question one. You can perform a drum roll on basically any percussion instrument, but the one you're probably thinking of when it comes to drum rolls is the snare drum. It was the snare, right? Is this your drum? Is this your drum? The purpose of the drum roll is to create the semblance of a sustained sound on an instrument where that is impossible. Especially the snare drum, which makes one of the shortest, most staccato sounds of all of the percussion instruments. To perform a classic snare drum roll, the drummer quickly alternates between bouncing the left and right sticks 3 times each on the drum. Now, it looks like they're just beating the drum really fast, left and right, but that's an illusion. Ooh. The roll is considered a drum rudiment, one of the small patterns in drumming used in conjunction with other rudiments to create more complex patterns. One of the other drum rudiments consists of 2 single strokes played almost simultaneously. The first stroke is a quieter grace note, immediately followed by a louder primary note. What is the name for this 2-stroke drum rudiment? Is it A, paradiddle, B, double stroke, C, flam, D, double stop? The answer is C, flam. It's onomatopoeia. Flam. The double stop, that's 2 single strokes played exactly at the same time. A double stroke is 2 single strokes played by the same hand. And a paradiddle is 2 single strokes followed by a double stroke. I'd explain further, but I think I smell my toast burning. No need for excitement or hullabaloo. It's just question 2. There's no actual evidence that smelling burnt toast signifies that you're having a stroke. It's mostly just an easy joke that dumb podcasters make. Wait a second, that's me. Hey, Mom, they're talking about me on the podcast! However, smelling something burning when there's nothing there to smell is a common condition when someone has an upper respiratory infection or allergies, a nose injury, or maybe a head injury. Wait, head injury? Doesn't a stroke count as a head injury? It sounds like one to me. But hey, I'm not healthline.com, which is my source for this information. Smelling imaginary burnt toast is an olfactory hallucination, and this odoriferous type of hallucination has a specific name. What is it? A, hypnagogia. B, phantasmia. C, osmophobia. Or D, anosmia. The answer is B, phantasmia. Phantasmia means phantom smells. Spooky. But being able to actually smell ghosts, that has a different name. Schizophrenia. Sorry. Clairsalience. And the name for being able to smell a ghost burning toast is I'm a Poet Didn't Know It. Question 3. Fantasia Barrino, now officially Fantasia Barrino-Taylor, though you can refer to her mononymously as just Fantasia. She was the winner of the 3rd season of American Idol in 2004. Monogamous. Her name's Fantasia. Monogamous. Doot 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 doot. Guys, it's really late right now, and I'm only on question 3, so this could get weirder. Buckle up. Fantasia won that season of American Idol on the back of her rendition of the Porgy and Bess jazz standard, Summertime. And after winning, she went on to become the 2nd artist ever to have their very first commercial single debut at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart when she released I Believe. Believe that. Who was the first artist to do that thing? You know, have the very first single they ever released debut atop the Billboard Hot 100? Was it A, Lauryn Hill, B, Michael Jackson, C, Eminem, or D, Taylor Hicks? The answer is A, Lauryn Hill, whose first single, Doo-Wop, parentheses, That Thing, went directly to number 1 in 1998. And she's been killing them softly ever since. And by them, I mean her concert goers, as she has a bad habit of showing up well over an hour late and then literally singing too softly to be heard. Hey, I wouldn't bring it up if this only happened once. Maybe not even if it only happened 2 times. Why are we here? Where are we going? Who is behind all of this? What should I get for lunch? What is this question for? The Hill is an American newspaper/website that focuses on politics and business. The Hill strives to be nonpartisan, and succeeds, I guess. It has a reputation for being just that, which is impressive, considering that reality has a well-known liberal bias. That was just a joke, a very good one, first told in front of a bunch of journalists for The Hill, along with many other news outlets. This joke was part of a speech given by the host of a special event for political journalists called the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which is known for its humorous roasts and traditionally is attended by the president. Unless the president happens to be a humorless, self-aggrandizing dipwad. Former President George W. Bush sat a few feet away from the host of the 2006 White House Correspondents' Dinner as they told this famous joke along with many others. Now, I wouldn't describe George Bush as being self-aggrandizing or humorless. However, he reportedly did not think that this speech was very funny. But, as was often the case, he was wrong. What famous comedian was the host and featured entertainer at the 2006 White House Correspondents' Dinner? A, Samantha Bee. B, Jon Stewart. C, Conan O'Brien. D, Stephen Colbert. The answer is D, Stephen Colbert. This was back before he hosted The Late Show and was still hosting the Comedy Central show, The Colbert Report, where he played a faux conservative pundit named Stephen Colbert. It was as this persona that he gave his speech at the Correspondents' Dinner, which many of the attendees did not enjoy. And you can hear the silence on YouTube, where you can watch this whole thing, which you should do. This is an official Dean Felix recommendation. This speech changed the game. It's incredible.
Hey, fellas, wait till you hear this. Oh my gosh. You don't say. I can't believe it.
What y'all talking about over there?
Nothing. We were just
Talking about question 5.
Well, shoot.
The phrase even Steven found its way into our shared lexicon in the early 1900s in the U.S. Now, there's no specific origin known for how it started or any specific reference. It just rhymes and is fun to say. And it means exactly what you think, that two things have equal value. This phrase spread to the UK in the late 1900s, and more often than not, the Brits would say even Stevens, plural. Why? They just like pluralizing stuff over there. I don't know. You do the maths. In America, people now sometimes say the plural version even Stevens as well, but that didn't get started until 2000. Not coincidentally, the same year a comedy show of the same name debuted on the Disney Channel. The child star of Even Stevens has gone on to have a very successful acting career, and along the way has garnered a reputation for being abusive and combative, which he does not deny. Not that that excuses the behavior, it just, he seemed to accept it and is in recovery. In 2013, he attempted to forfeit his fame entirely by attending the red carpet for his film Nymphomaniac wearing a tuxedo and a paper bag over his head with the words, "I am not famous anymore," written on it. This did not work. Still famous. Name that actor. A. Jeremy Renner. B. Zac Efron. C. Justin Timberlake. D. Shia LaBeouf. The answer is D. Shia LaBeouf. Shia met Mia Goth while filming Nymphomaniac, and they later got married in Las Vegas by an Elvis impersonator. They later divorced, but then they reconciled and had a daughter together. Would you believe that their daughter was delivered by the same Elvis impersonator? You shouldn't. I mean, that would be ridiculous. I just made that up.
Whoa, mama, you had a baby girl.
Oh, bro. Bro, this is 6, bro. Bro, did you make this? Oh, bro. Bro, this is so 6. Is this your question? Bro, this question is 6. I just learned that buff is a color. It's like an orangey beige, I guess. How did I make it this long without knowing this? I have no excuse, because the color buff is everywhere in nature. There's buff sand, buff rock, a bunch of animals with buff coloring to help camouflage them. There are even at least 60 birds with buff in their name. I don't know, I guess I just thought that these were really fit, muscular birds. I don't know. So you can create the color buff by evenly mixing the two tertiary colors, citron and russet. Traditionally, a tertiary color is created by an even mixture of two secondary colors, which are made by an even mixture of two primary colors. So to get all the way to buff, it's kind of a process. Wikipedia says that colors like buff, which are made by evenly mixing two tertiary colors together, have no special use or status in color theory or color science. Which, I don't know, seems like a really disrespectful thing to say about a category that includes a color that's in the names of at least 60 very beefy birds. I want these birds to know that I respect buff. I respect it. So what kind of color do you get by evenly mixing two tertiary colors together? A. Intermediate. B. Hexachromatic. C. Uncomplementary. D. Quaternary. The answer is D, quaternary colors. I think this leads to the obvious question of what kind of color do you get if you mix two quaternary colors together? I'm curious to know, so if you have a friend that's gone to a lot of Fish concerts, ask them for me. Hi, I've got some great news. You just died and gone to question 7. The Quaternary period is the most recent and current of the 3 periods of the Cenozoic era. That's right, we are in our Cenozoic era and have been for 66 million years. Now, it's called the Quaternary period because it was formerly believed to be the 4th geological era, but the big brains changed their big minds about that. However, they kept the name Quaternary because it sounds so cool. The Quaternary period is divided into 2 epochs of disproportionate size. The first epoch is the Pleistocene, and it stretched from 2.6 million years ago to around 11,700 years ago. That's when the glaciers retreated and our current epoch began. Now, this current epoch... I'm so sick of the word epoch. Hate it. This current epoch got its name from ancient Greek, and it translates to entirely new. What is the name for our current epoch? Is it A, Neogene, B, Holocene, C, Mesozoic, or D, Cretaceous? The answer is B, Holocene. Neogene translates to new generation, so perhaps it fooled you. Neogene was the period before Quaternary, and it was new back then. Every generation is new at one point, be it a geological generation or a human generation. Boomers, millennials, Gen Z, that's the cycle of life. A new generation arrives, they become convinced that they invented irony, and then they grow up and ruin the economy. So it goes. Poodoo-eat. There we go. That's 20 points, plus used all my tiles. That's another 50 for 70 points.
Not a word.
Yes, it is.
It's not a word.
It is a word.
I'll look it up.
Okay.
I'm looking it up. All right.
All
I'll show you. I'll show you.
You'll see.
Oh my gosh. Well, here it is. Look. To ask a lot of questions is to questionate.
I told you! The holodeck is a fictional room from the television franchise Star Trek. Using holograms and force fields, I think? Sorry if that's not entirely accurate, Trekkies. The holodeck used these things to create realistic 3D simulations where crew members, or anyone I guess, could interact with the fabricated environments or experience other time periods, all for a little leisurely fun. Mostly it just gave the writers of the show a lot of freedom in their storytelling. Sadly, for the writers of the original Star Trek series, there was no holodeck in the show. The creator of Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, had thought of it, and he wanted to include it, but budget issues prevented that from happening. The holodeck didn't make its debut until a later iteration of the franchise, and when it was first introduced, it was simply called the Recreation Room. Which series of Star Trek were viewers first introduced to the holodeck, aka the Recreation Room? A. Star Trek The Next Generation. B. Star Trek Deep Space Nine. C. Star Trek The Animated Series. D. Star Trek Voyager. The answer is C. Star Trek The Animated Series. In The Practical Joker, the third episode of the series' second and final season in 1974, someone starts mysteriously playing pranks on the crew. The glasses start leaking, the utensils are rubber, Spock looks through an optical device which puts black rings around his eyes, and the captain's uniform suddenly says, "Kirk is a jerk" on the back of it. Just absolutely sick, twisted stuff. Dr. McCoy, Uhura, and Sulu, they try to hide away from the jokester in the recreation room / holodeck, which, would be a real bad idea if the person pulling the pranks turned out to not be a person at all, but instead was the ship's actual computer itself, which controls that room? Guys, you are not gonna believe this. The hardest part about being a trivia podcast host isn't coming up with the interesting questions. It's staying hydrated. So when I get thirsty, I always reach for a cool, refreshing glass of Question 9. The word animation comes from the Latin animatio, which means bestowing of life. It's pretty cool. I like that. Animation is basically pictures manipulated to give the illusion of movement, and we mostly associate it with cartoons, which is fine. Though stop motion is also animation, and if you want to get super technical, I'm pretty sure that live action film would also qualify. But look, it's good to differentiate between animation and live action because more people get awards that way. The Academy Awards have been giving an Oscar to the best animated short film since 1932, with Disney's Flowers and Trees winning that first year. Never heard of it. I was surprised to discover that the Academy has only had a category for Best Animated Feature since the 2002 Oscars, which of course awarded films that were released in 2001. What film won the first ever Academy Award for Best Animated Feature? Was it A. Beauty and the Beast, B. Spirited Away, C. Shrek, D. Happy Feet? The answer is C. Shrek. In order for films to qualify for this category, 75% of the film needs to contain animation, with the Academy's definition being performances created using a frame-by-frame technique. This rule was made to disqualify films that are heavy on motion capture, like Avatar. And, look, when it comes to animation, you gotta draw the line somewhere. And then another line, and then another, and another. You gotta draw a lot of lines.
You must retrieve the relic, for without it we are all doomed. It can be found in the Forbidden Temple in the ancient city of Shun-Ten.
So, that would make this, Question 10 then, huh?
You know what? Forget the relic. Just leave.
Shrek stars comedian Mike Myers as the titular Shrek, a large, green, antisocial ogre who lives in a swamp and speaks with a Scottish accent. The Scottish accent was Myers' idea. After he watched a rough cut of the movie with no accent, he then went back and re-recorded all of his lines using the Scottish brogue, and it really worked. Ogres have been characters in fiction since as early as the 12th century, at least, and if they were to traditionally have an accent, it would be French, since that is the origin of the word ogre. Also, ogres traditionally eat children. They love eating kids, and TRIVI-yeah loves questions involving feasting on kids, apparently. So here's another. I swear I don't plan this. This just happened. The first example of a female ogre being referred to as an ogress is from a classic French fairy tale. The ogress in question becomes the main character's mother-in-law, or should I say monster-in-law, as she, of course, enjoys eating children. What classic fairy tale gave mother-in-laws a bad name, with that name being ogress? Was it A, Hansel and Gretel, B, Rumpelstiltskin, C, Rapunzel, or D, Sleeping Beauty? The answer is D, Sleeping Beauty. Well, I certainly didn't shy away from the pop culture and fantasy questions in this week's episode. I guess my animation voiceover demo got mixed in with the trivia podcast, but hey, perhaps the timing was right. We could all use an escape from our biased realities from time to time, especially this week, and since no one has invented the holodeck yet, whatever we can drum up using our own imaginations will just have to do. The Holocene is just getting started, and we have to find some way to entertain ourselves while we wait for Lauryn Hill to get here. Should be any minute now. Yeah, you know, there's probably enough time if you want to go and check on your toast. Bonus, 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 bonus question time. As mentioned before, one of our favorite singers, Fantasia, won the 3rd season of American Idol in 2004. But who was the runner-up that season? Who got 2nd place? That is your bonus question. And like every bonus question, there are no multiple choices. There is no countdown timer. If you don't already know the answer to this question, well then feel free to go down your own rabbit hole of trivia knowledge. Or you can join me for next episode where I will have that answer for you at the beginning of the show. And that brings us to the end of another episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, I would really love it if you would hit that like button, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars, leave a positive comment, tell a friend about the show, make a social post, do all of those wonderful things that help this podcast continue to grow. If you would like to email the podcast, you certainly can. TRIVI-yeah-podcast@gmail.com. You can ask me a question. You can share with me your favorite trivia. Tell me if I got something wrong. Maybe I did. You can find the show on socials under TRIVI-yeah Podcast. That's the best way to know when a new episode's been dropped. Try to get them up every Tuesday morning bright and early, but you know what we always say, circumstances, they do be extenuating. Everything you've just heard, including all the music and the interludes, was written and produced by me. I am, of course, your host, Dean Felix. Thank you again so much for listening, and I hope to see you back here for the next episode. In the meantime, please be best, and remember, TRIVI-yeah is a quality yarn production.